How is it going, everyone? It's Kay Lumity here, and today we're going to be talking about one of the best 3D platformers to ever release. We're talking about SpongeBob Battle for the Bikini Bottom, but we're not just talking about the original one. We're actually going to be talking about the remaster that they did, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for the Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. This is a remaster of the original that released on PS2, and I decided for this review to play it on Switch. I've played on few other consoles, actually. I've played on Xbox and I've played on PC as well, and I've had positive experiences on every system I've ever played it for, and I just love this game. I grew up with this game. I played it a ton as a kid. I actually never owned it personally. I would always borrow it from my cousin, or I would rent it from, we had Family Video at the time. So this was a game I never owned as a kid, but I always played constantly, and I absolutely love this game. And games like this always age pretty well because they're just such a simple idea. It's just go collect things to unlock new areas. You know, there's a few enemies that you fight on each world that you go to, and that's basically it. They're simplistic, but they work, they're fun, they're relaxing, and they're enjoyable, and they throw different things at you, different puzzles and stuff for you to solve. They throw different types of enemies at you to kind of keep you on your toes and to keep things fresh. And with each map on this one, it basically does introduce a new enemy type for each map that you kind of basically have to work around, and you have to figure out how to defeat or how to get around it and stuff like that. So it constantly is throwing new stuff at you, and the environments, first of all, are great too. So I love the environments in this game because obviously it's SpongeBob related. Who hasn't watched SpongeBob? Like, I feel like everyone's at least seen at least one episode of SpongeBob in their life. I grew up with SpongeBob just like how I grew up with this game. And I absolutely love the locations that they used from SpongeBob that appear in this game. So not only do you have, of course, Jellyfish Field, you have the Bikini Bottom, which the Bikini Bottom is basically the main HUD area that you use to go everywhere else. But you do have Jellyfish Fields. You can go down to the downtown Bikini Bottom, and there's quite a few cool locations there. There's actually the Kelp Forest, which I believe is the episode where they used the magic conch shell, I believe. There's Plankton's Laboratory. You can actually enter SpongeBob's Dream World at one point, which is it's actually a really fun level. I really like that one because you can go through SpongeBob's dream, and while you're in SpongeBob's dream, you're actually able to enter other people's dreams as well. So you can go into Mr. Krabs' dream, you can go into Sandy's dream, you can go into Patrick's dream, and you get to play basically each of their dream levels, and that's a really fun level. But all the levels are very well designed. They're a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool locations. The Mermaid Man's Lair, Lair, that's what it's called. That is in this game as well. Just a ton of different stuff. The Flying Dutchman's ship is in this. I guess it's more of like a Flying Dutchman's graveyard, I believe is what it's called. So it's an entire area just dedicated to the Flying Dutchman. That's a really cool area too. So the areas are great, and they did a great job kind of remastering them and just making them look fresh. I actually played this not too long ago on the PS2 as well, and beat it on the PS2 again, and they definitely did this game justice. It looks great, but it still feels familiar with everything. Sometimes on these remasters, if it's an older game, the remaster kind of, I feel like, goes a bit too far and kind of takes away some of the charm of the original. That's kind of how I felt with the Spyro remaster when they did that. I felt like they kind of took away some of the charm of the original game, but this one managed to keep all the charm there. Everything is great looking, everything plays well, and I absolutely just love that they were able to keep the original feel of the game, including using a lot of the original voice acting, even though some of the voice acting isn't great, especially Mermaid Man. That's kind of like one of the biggest complaints with this game, is the fact that Mermaid Man's voice acting is really bad, but they kept that because they wanted it to be as close to the original as they possibly could, and I actually really appreciate that artistic decision because at the end of the day, it's kind of like preserving part of gaming history when you're doing that. You're just updating the graphics, but you're keeping the core of the game there, the feeling of the game, the cheesiness of the game, kind of, you know, the campy feeling of the game. They made sure to keep all of that in this remaster, and that's fantastic. But yeah, this game looks great in HD, and on the Switch it actually plays pretty well, and it looks pretty good on the Switch. It looks a little bit fuzzy in dock mode, but it does look better when you're playing in handheld. And on some of the slide challenges, there are these challenges that are big slopes, and you basically hop on them, and SpongeBob will start sliding down them, and you basically have to get to the end of whatever obstacle course it is. On some of those slide challenges, it does have a little bit of slowdown, Nothing to ruin the experience for me, but it was something I noticed, so I figured I should probably bring that up here and just throw it out there. Again, it's nothing that ruins the experience, but it is there, and you do notice it when you're doing those sliding areas on certain levels. But yeah, I love this game. It's 100% worth the $20 it usually goes for. If you can get it for cheaper than that, you're doing really well. It's just a really good 3D platformer game. One of my favorite things about this one is that, unlike a lot of the other SpongeBob platformer games, this one actually lets you play as not only Patrick, but also lets you play as Sandy as well. So you get 2 other characters you can play as other than SpongeBob, and that's pretty cool. And they all have their own unique abilities. Patrick is able to pick things up and throw them. SpongeBob has more of like the obviously like the sponge ability, so he can like jump and smack against a wall and stick to it, and then he can basically keep wall jumping up by just going back and forth against walls. And Sandy, she actually can use her lasso, and she can basically turn it into like a helicopter propeller, and she can like hover in the air for long periods of time, or she can grab robots from afar, and she can like grab onto swings and swing herself around. And I did mention robots, so I guess I should probably actually mention the story of this game. I don't really, when it comes to stories of these games, I don't think they matter that much, because the gameplay is what matters the most when it comes to these games. But yeah, the gameplay, the story for the game is pretty simple. It's basically Plankton made robots. Robots didn't listen to what Plankton said, so now robots are overrunning the Bikini Bottom, and that's your story, and it's your job to stop them. And along the way, you go through all these different levels, you collect golden spatulas to unlock new levels, and as you're collecting golden spatulas to get to the next level, eventually you will be able to unlock a next part of Bikini Bottom that has a whole nother section of levels to them. But before you're able to enter to the next section of levels, you actually do have to go through a boss fight, and the boss fights in this game are actually a lot of fun. I really like them, and basically the boss fights are usually just giant robot versions of the main characters. So like there's a robot version of Sandy, robot version of Patrick, robot version of SpongeBob, and that's the whole goal of this game, is to defeat each one of those main bosses. Now, there actually are some mini bosses as well in some of the levels, and those are actually pretty cool as well. There's a prawn that is in the Merma layer that apparently is Mermaid Man's arch nemesis that you can fight down there. And then there's actually a mini boss fight with the King Jellyfish. And there's another boss fight with the Flying Dutchman. What is his name? The Captain of Flying Dutchman. Why can't I remember his name? I don't remember. But either way, there's a boss fight with him. So all the boss fights are really good, though, and they all feel unique. They all feel different. They do enough with each one of those to where it definitely feels like a different experience each time you face a different boss. So they did a good job with that stuff. And like I said, with the remaster, it all looks great. It all looks really pretty. All looks good in HD, and I'm very happy with how this game turned out. And I'm glad that they kept that original feel of the original game. So for $20, I say pick up SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for the Bikini Bottom. If you can find it for cheaper, hey, that's even better. So, go try to find it for less than $20. If you can do that, you are doing fantastic. But I think this game, if you can't find it for less than $20, I do think $20 is pretty fair. I think the lowest I've seen this game for was I think I saw it for $6 once on Steam, and that's when I picked it up on Steam. But I've gotten this game multiple times because I do enjoy it so much. I've played through this game multiple times because I do enjoy SpongeBob Battle for the Bikini Bottom so much. And I would like to see remasters of some of the other SpongeBob games, if I'm being honest. I would love them to do a remaster of Curse of the Flying Dutchman. I'd like them to do a remaster of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. I'd like to see them even do like Super Sponge from the PS1, or even there's the Atlantis SquarePantis. I haven't actually played that one personally, and that's one I actually want to play for the channel eventually. Or even Lights Camera Pants, if you remember that one. That one was like almost a party game where it was kind of like the mini games in Mario Party, but it was just a bunch of mini games put together in a giant SpongeBob game. Like, that'd be great if they were able to just remaster that, or just throw an HD version of it out there. I would totally pick it up and play it. But yeah, I love this game. It's one of the best, and I understand why they decided to remaster this one over the other ones, because this honestly is the best SpongeBob platformer game, and I honestly can't say enough good things about it. So I'm going to stop here, because if I keep going, I'm just going to keep gushing on and on about this, and I think you get the point. Go play SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for the Bikini Bottom. It's amazing, and you will not be disappointed if you love 3D platformers. I'll talk to you next time. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.